Good afternoon, everybody. Hong, hong, hong. How's everyone doing today? We ready for another press conference with adults in the room again? All right, we got to talk about this. This is a reminder. Biden's pick to lead the FAA. This was him getting grilled when they were confirming him for to be the lead of the FAA.
Can you quickly tell me what airspace requires
Biden's pick.
an ADS-B transponder?
Not sure I can answer that question right now.
That's okay. We'll just keep going. So that's a pretty important part. So what are the 6 types of special use airspace that protect this national security that appear on FAA charts?
Sorry, Senator, I cannot answer that question.
Okay. So what are the operational limitations of a pilot flying under basic med?
Senator, I'm not a pilot, so...
But obviously you'd oversee the Federal Aviation Administration. So any idea what those restrictions are under basic med, quickly?
Well, some of the restrictions, I think, would be high blood pressure. Some of them would be...
It's more like how many passengers per airplane, how many pounds in different categories, and what altitude you can fly under. So, and then amount of knots. It's under 250 knots. So it's not having anything to do with blood pressure. So can you tell me what causes an aircraft to spin or to stall?
Again, Senator, I'm not a pilot.
Okay, let's keep going.
Okay, yes,
what are
we've
the
established
3
you're not a
aircraft
pilot.
certifications the FAA requires as part of the manufacturing process? Quickly, please. 3 aircraft certifications.
Again, what I would say to that is that one of my first priorities would be to fully implement that Certification Act and report
You know
back
the
to
3
this
types,
committee.
Mr. Washington? The 3
No.
types? Okay. Yeah, that's type certificate, production certificate, and airworthiness certificate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Let's just keep going, see if we can get lucky here.
Get
So can you tell me
lucky.
what the minimum separation distance is for landing and departing airliners during the daytime? Mr. Washington?
I don't want to guess on that, Senator.
Oh, you
Are you
don't want to
familiar with
guess
the difference
anymore?
between Part 107 and Part 44809 when it comes to
I guess guessing
unmanned
hasn't
aerial-
gone so well so far.
unmanned like drones? Are you familiar with the difference?
Yes.
Okay, you know the difference between those 2, Part 44809 and Part 107? Do you know the difference there?
No, I cannot
That's okay.
spell that out.
No, there'll be none of that. As if that wasn't enough, Ted Cruz grilling him. This is likely what has led to disaster.
You ever flown a plane?
Thank you for the question, Senator. No, I have never flown a plane.
So you weren't a military pilot or a commercial airline pilot?
No, Senator.
Yeah, it will be interesting to
Have you ever worked
see
for an airline?
if any Republicans that voted for him will decide to not vote for some Trump nominees. Low Q, stay together, stay tight. We do this every morning-ish afternoon these days, yeah. Doesn't quite have the same ring to it.
No, Senator.
Have you ever worked as an air traffic controller?
No, Senator.
Have you ever worked for a company that manufactures airplanes?
No, Senator.
Have you ever worked for a company that fixes airplanes?
No, Senator.
FAA administrator is a specialized position. I'm not qualified to be FAA administrator. I have no idea how to fly a plane. No one in their right mind would put me in charge of aviation safety because I don't have that experience. I suspect most of the members of this committee are in a similar
Sarah,
position.
this is your warning. We do this every morning.
The
There we go.
American people, when they think about aviation safety, when they think about, I played in this committee, a Southwest Airlines and FedEx plane almost colliding at Austin's airport. They want an FAA administrator who knows why those planes crash and knows how to fix it to keep them
foreshadowing
safe.
there.
And with all respect, Mr. Washington, it gives no comfort to the flying public.
We still don't
that
know.
Their pilot
We
might
still don't know who the third pilot in the military helicopter was, do we?
be a transgendered witch but doesn't actually know how to prevent the plane from crashing into the ground and killing them. I believe your record is woefully lacking. And in fact, you have zero aviation safety experience.
Luckily, we're beginning to turn this around. What is this? Biden's deep state plot to sabotage RFK Jr.'s radical reforms. Radical reforms, yes. Attempting to make America healthier. It's radical. It's a radical idea, guys. Less chemicals in our food. Radical! These people are extremists. The Biden administration in its final weeks quietly stacked a key health committee in a move that could sabotage RFK Jr.'s vaccine plans. Former president approved the appointments of 8 pro-vaccine candidates to a critical committee that helps America's immunization policy. Let me guess. Is Fauci on here? Oh, no Fauci? I don't see any. No Fauci, huh? When the FDA approves new vaccine, the ACIP is responsible for evaluating its safety and efficacy. Any way to get rid of these guys? It was our goal to fill every vacancy on every committee the department has, with particular focus on ones like the ACIP, where maintenance of our scientific expertise was critical. Sources fear Kennedy could fire the committee members. Okay, good. Who all have at-will appointments. Okay, good. So not an issue. Great. Fire them all. Fire every Biden appointee everywhere.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, thank you. How are you? Nice live shot. Good to see all of you. Happy Friday. It's great to be back with you. I want to provide an update on President Trump's actions in the wake of the catastrophic air collision that tragically claimed the lives of 67 people at Reagan National Airport on Wednesday night. Everyone in this White House continues to mourn the victims and keep their friends and families in our thoughts and prayers during this unimaginable time. First, within moments of the collision, the president and his newly appointed team were in immediate communication. The president was briefed on Wednesday evening following the crash, again on Thursday morning, and he has continued to receive updates as recovery efforts continue on the ground. The president, as you know, took time to address the nation yesterday afternoon. To deliver accountability, President Trump swiftly signed a memorandum directing an immediate assessment of the Federal Aviation Administration to ensure the federal government is maintaining the highest personnel and policy aviation safety standards. The memorandum directs the Secretary of Transportation and the FAA Administrator to immediately review all hiring decisions and changes to safety protocols made during the prior 4 years, and to take all necessary corrective actions to achieve uncompromised aviation safety. The review will include a comprehensive assessment and reversal of any deterioration in hiring standards and aviation safety standards and protocols during the previous administration. Aviation safety was addressed by President Trump before this tragic collision even took place. On his second day in office, the president signed a memorandum to immediately stop Biden DEI hiring programs and return to non-discriminatory, merit-based hiring. And in 2018, during President Trump's first term, the Department of Transportation announced it would put an end at that time to use the biological questionnaire that was introduced by the Obama administration, which punished skilled applicants. President Trump has long led on the issue of aviation safety, and he will continue to do so. He will continue to deliver on the promises he made to the American people at record speed. The Senate has already confirmed 8 of President Trump's exceptional cabinet nominees, including most recently Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, as you of course know, EPA Secretary Lee Zeldin, and Interior Secretary Doug Burgum, who is scheduled to be sworn in later today. We expect the Senate to continue quickly confirming the remainder of President Trump's well-qualified nominees in the days ahead. Earlier this week in the East Room, the president proudly signed the Laken-Riley Act into law, surrounded by Laken's loving parents and sister. This common-sense bipartisan law mandates the federal detention of illegal aliens who are accused of theft, burglary, assaulting a law enforcement officer, and any crime that causes death or serious
How is there
bodily
feedback?
injury.
What is
like
happening?
the animal who murdered Laken-Riley in cold blood. This was the first piece of legislation President Trump proudly signed as the 47th president of the United States, and it will guarantee that Laken did not die in vain. As Laken's mother, Allison, tearfully said during the signing event, President Trump said he would secure our borders and that he would never forget about Laken, and he hasn't. He's a man of his word, and we trust that he will fight for the American people. Those are the words of Laken's mother, and we will never forget them. So to help lock up even more criminal illegal aliens, President Trump signed a memorandum this week to detain them at Guantanamo Bay. This action will expand the Migrant Operations Center at Naval Station Guantanamo Bay to full capacity to provide critical extra detention space for high-priority criminal illegals. Our brave ICE agents continue to arrest more and more of these types of individuals every day in communities across our country. And I have more updates for you. On January 27, 2025, ICE Chicago arrested a citizen of Guatemala who has been convicted of solicitation to meet a child, disturbing, and sentenced to 24 months probation. On January 28, 2025, ICE Atlanta arrested a citizen of South Korea who has been convicted of 9 counts of possession or control of material depicting minors in sexually explicit conduct. On January 28th, ICE New York arrested a Mexican national previously charged by the state of New York for attempted murder and possession of a weapon and assault. And on January 28th, ICE Philly arrested a citizen of Mexico who has been convicted of possession of child pornography. Our message is simple. If you are a criminal illegal alien, you will be arrested and deported. On another important matter, the nation's report card was released this week, and the news is not good. It showed that U.S. students had record low reading comprehension scores last year. It's National School Choice Week, and in part of the president's commitment to education, he just left a roundtable in the Roosevelt Room focused on this issue with leaders from across the country. The national report card showed that 70% of 8th graders were below proficient in reading, and 40% of 4th graders did not even meet the basic reading levels. This is completely unacceptable to the president, and he continues to take aggressive actions to address this education problem in our country. He signed an executive order this week prohibiting federal funding of the indoctrination of our children, including radical gender ideology and critical race theory in the classroom. The president believes American education should focus on cultivating patriotic citizens who are ready for the workforce. And this action will help get schools back on track and defend fundamental parental rights and education. The president also signed a school choice executive order expanding educational freedom and opportunity for families. And in lighter news, but in exciting news, after announcing our briefing room changes on Wednesday, this White House has received more than 10,000 submissions from individuals across the country who are eager to join all of you. We might have to make this room a little bit bigger to do that, who want to participate in our new media seat at a future briefing. So in this seat today, we have the Ruthless podcast. They humbly started by entertaining small audiences on Capitol Hill, but after 4 years,
I still haven't
program
heard
has
back
become
from them.
one of the most influential podcasts in America. They previously reached #1 on the charts and earned over 25 million downloads as they deliver political news with a humorous touch. The hosts are Josh Holmes, Michael Duncan, Comfortably Smug, and the man joining us today, John Ashbrook. So with that, I will take your questions. John, please kick us off.
Thank you very much. You know, Karoline, in your first briefing, the media went after this administration for deporting illegal immigrants they claimed were not criminals.
That's
The
right.
question is, do you think they're out of touch with Americans demanding action on our border crisis?
The media out of touch? I think the media certainly is out of touch, and I think that's proven by a number of things, John. Number one, there was a New York Times poll that was released prior to President Trump's inauguration by the New York Times, which of course is a legacy media outlet, that showed that 83% of Americans support deporting the individuals that you mentioned, illegal immigrant criminals, especially those who have committed heinous crimes in the interior of our country. And I received a very actually interesting statistic on this front from ICE this week. 97% of the deportations that this administration has made thus far are of individuals who had a removal order from the previous administration, but were never removed from the interior of our country. So this shows that the previous administration was actually defying our laws, and all this administration is doing is simply following the laws, the immigration laws of this great country. Thanks for the question, John. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, great. Peter.
Thanks, Caroline. If President Trump is telling us that air traffic control towers are staffed with unqualified controllers, these DEI hires who never should have been brought on, then it's not safe to fly commercially, is it?
The president was asked and answered this yesterday, and he believes that it is still indeed safe, and Americans should feel safe traveling our skies. With that said, two things can be true at the same time, and we certainly have seen the deterioration of federal hiring standards at the Federal Aviation Administration, and the president wants to increase those standards. He wants pilots in this country who have the great responsibility of flying American citizens by the tens of millions every single day to be chosen for that position based on their merit and their skills. And so the administration will continue to prioritize this.
Was the air traffic controller in the DCA tower on Wednesday night hired or not fired at some point because of his or her race?
That investigation is ongoing, and so when we have updates on the exact individuals who were involved in the collision, including the air traffic controller, also the pilots of the helicopter and others, we will confirm those. I don't want to confirm names from this podium today. We're not in a position to do that. But I will say the president has still rightfully pointed out that there has been problems with the aviation industry over the past several years. And this started under Barack Obama in 2014.
And when the president says on Truth Social, the Black Hawk helicopter was flying too high by a lot, it was far above the 200-foot limit, that's not really too complicated to understand, is it? Is he suggesting a helicopter malfunction or a crew error or a crew doing this intentionally?
No, the president is simply stating what he said in that True Social post, which is that the helicopter was flying higher than it should have been, which is one of the reasons that led to this collision. And the other reasons for that are still being investigated, and I will let that investigation play out. Kelly.
Some of our colleagues have obtained a memo from the Defense Intelligence Agency that talks about not holding any activities or programming related to Black History Month to be in line with the president's views on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Does the president plan to have a proclamation about Black History Month? In his first term, each of the 4 years of his term, he did so and called on those in government
Think of the
to
black
have
people.
programming activities and celebrations. Is he going to do that this year?
Yeah, the president looks forward to signing a proclamation celebrating Black History Month. I actually spoke with our great staff secretary. It's in the works of being approved, and it's going to be ready for the president's signature to signify the beginning of that tomorrow.
If an agency is calling off those kinds of activities in an attempt to be in alignment with the president's views on DEI and other things, should they adjust that now and have those programs and make those celebrations however they see fit in the office?
The president is leading here at the White House, and I'll leave it to the proclamation that he will sign very soon. Mary, great to see you.
Thanks for having us. So I wanted to follow up on the gender executive orders that you mentioned. First of all, we know that President Trump has taken a bunch of steps to protect children from irreversible transgender procedures. is he interested in backing congressional legislation on this point? And does the Trump administration have interest in investigating doctors who perform these irreversible procedures on kids, such as a double vasectomy on a minor girl?
Well, the president has already taken a very strong stance on this issue this week with the signing of his executive order, a few executive orders in this space. First, he made it the official policy of the federal government that there are only two sexes, male and female, and we have directed all federal agencies to comply with that policy. As for congressional legislation to support the president's agenda in this space, and certainly ending the mutilation of young children, the chemical castration of young children, which is a barbaric practice that the vast majority of Americans do not support for young minor children. Certainly the president would support Congress's efforts, as he has already made that very clear this week. Jennifer.
On Rick Grinnell's trip to Venezuela to meet with Nicolas Maduro, is there anything you can share on timing on that, what his agenda is, what the mission of that trip is?
Yes, so I can confirm that Rick Grinnell is in Venezuela today. I can confirm that Rick Grinnell is going to Venezuela, or is in Venezuela, with two immediate directives from the President of the United States. Number one, Rick Grinnell has been instructed to identify a place and ensure that repatriation flights of Tren de Aragua members, Venezuelan nationals who have broken our nation's laws, will land in Venezuela. As I said at this podium a few days ago, we expect every nation on this planet to cooperate with the repatriation of our citizens, and so Rick Grinnell is in Venezuela to ensure that can continue. And number two, Rick Grinnell is in Venezuela to ensure that all U.S. detainees in Venezuela are returned home. That's his mission, and I will provide a readout after this trip.
On Bob Menendez, can you tell us if anyone has approached the White House or the president about a pardon or a commutation?
I have not been part of those discussions. If they have, I am not sure if they have, but I won't speculate on potential pardons that may or may not happen. To my awareness, the answer is no. Justin.
Hey, friends at Reuters are reporting that the president has made a decision on the Canada and Mexico tariffs, but that they won't actually be implemented until March 1st. I was wondering if you could confirm that and talk through some of the president's things.
I saw that report, and it is false. I was just with the president in the Oval Office, and I can confirm that tomorrow, the February 1st deadline that President Trump put into place at a statement several weeks ago, continues. The president will be implementing tomorrow a 25% tariffs on Mexico, 25% tariffs on Canada, and a 10% tariff on China for the illegal fentanyl that they have sourced and allowed to distribute into our country, which has killed tens of millions of Americans. These are promises made and promises kept by the president.
The president yesterday said that last night he was planning to discuss whether an exemption would be made on oil imports. Do you have any information on what decision he made there, or will there be exemptions at all offered under this?
I don't have an update or readout for you on the exemptions, but those tariffs will be for public consumption in about 24 hours tomorrow, so you can read them then.
Karoline.
Stephen Nelson.
Thank you very much, Caroline. I have 3 questions, if that's all right. I'd like to ask you about press freedom and then about 2 economic matters.
Sure.
On press freedom, on Tuesday you announced plans to roll back the more restrictive press badge policy of the Biden White House. But there's a different anti-press freedom policy I wanted to ask about. The Biden White House adopted a mysterious pre-screening process for journalists allowed into large event spaces that in the pre-pandemic days of the first Trump term were open to all journalists on campus. This effectively limited the diversity of reporters present and blocked the asking of questions that large segments of the American public wanted answered. As press secretary, can you commit to abolishing this mysterious pre-screening process?
There were a lot of mysterious processes that my team and I have had to unravel over the past 2 weeks that were implemented by the previous White House and in particular the previous press shop here. And so I can commit to a greater access and transparency, which I believe we already have by ensuring that the 440 journalists whose credentials were revoked will be reinstalled. They will get their credentials if they wish to. We've also, of course, opened up a new seat to new media. And as far as open press events here at the White House, if we tell you it's open press, it's open press.
So just to confirm, this pre-screening thing is something you're aware of and you'll work to undo to the maximum extent possible.
When we say something is open press, it will mean it's open press.
Economic matters, and I can just ask them both at once for
Sure.
you. In New York City, Governor Hochul's congestion pricing went into effect this month. Vehicles that drive through parts of Manhattan have to pay a $9 toll. President Trump has made clear his opposition. He said that it's, quote, the most regressive tax known to womankind. Will the administration be trying to block this? And the second question is, millions and maybe tens of millions of Americans who voted for President Trump were excited about his plans to do away with taxes on tips, overtime, Social Security benefits. But there's uncertainty about the timing of this. So can you clarify for them when this is going to happen? And does President Trump want this to be in the first, all three of those in the first batch of legislation early this year?
Well, to answer your question in one swoop, I will say that President Trump is committed to lowering taxes for Americans, cutting taxes for Americans. As for congestion pricing in New York, I do know that the president spoke with Governor Hochul about that. I don't have any, actions, so to speak, to read out for you on that issue today. Number two, when it comes to no taxes on tips and Social Security, the president has made it very clear to our allies on Capitol Hill that is a critical piece of this reconciliation package, and he expects that his tax cuts from 2017, which put a lot more money back into the American people's pockets, those must be implemented, and no tax on tips. The president is intent on delivering on that promise, and he will get it done.
And overtime also as part of reconciliation?
Yes. Sure.
Thanks, Caroline. Can you guarantee that those tariffs won't increase prices for Americans, including at the gas pump and the grocery store?
I think Americans who are concerned about increased prices should look at what President Trump did in his first term. He effectively implemented tariffs, and the average inflation rate during the first Trump administration was 1.9%. In fact, when President Trump left office, it was 1.4%. So President Trump is going to do everything he possibly can to cut the inflation crisis that the previous administration imposed on the American people, and he will continue to effectively utilize tariffs.
If those tariffs do increase prices for Americans, will the administration reverse them?
That's a hypothetical question, and the president is intent on ensuring that he effectively implements tariffs while cutting inflation and costs for the American people. And, the media has this way of just looking at everything in a microscope rather than looking at the whole of government economic approach that this president is taking. He will effectively implement tariffs. He's also, as I just answered from Stephen's question, committed to tax cuts. He's also clearly committed, as evidenced by his executive orders, to unleashing the might of our energy industry, which we know will eventually drive down inflation. And all the other economic measures that this president has made will have a Trump incoming economic boom, just like we saw in our first term.
And has the White House
Sure.
found any...
Fox Business, yes,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Keep that, Caroline.
You're welcome.
Justin Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister, said today that if the U.S. imposes tariffs, he will respond and he will not relent until the tariffs are removed. Are we seeing the start of a trade war with Canada?
I don't think so. I think the president is going to implement those tariffs tomorrow, and he will respond to Mr. Trudeau's comments in due time, I am sure.
What type of things have to happen? What does the administration need to see in order to avoid those tariffs?
Well, the tariffs are incoming tomorrow on Canada, and the reason for that is because both Canada and Mexico have allowed an unprecedented invasion of illegal fentanyl that is killing American citizens and also illegal immigrants into our country. In fact, I have more language for you right here. Canada, Mexico, and China, which, as I mentioned, President Trump will implement a 10% tariff on China, have all enabled illegal drugs to pour into America. The amount of fentanyl that has been seized at the southern border in the last 2 years alone has the potential to kill tens of millions of Americans. And so the president is intent on doing this, and I think Justin Trudeau would be wise to talk to President Trump directly before pushing outlandish comments like that to the media.
If I may, one more.
Yes, Lindsay.
Go back to the plane crash for just 1 second.
You're interrupting your colleague, but sure.
I'm sorry, I thought you called on me.
I called on Lindsay.
The president this morning said the Black Hawk helicopter was flying too high. I'm wondering if he's basing that on what he learned from investigators, and if you could offer a little bit more of a window into how he is keeping abreast of this investigation.
Sure.
Is the NTSB briefing him separately? Is he meeting in the Situation Room? You just sort of offer a window into that.
Yeah, the president based that statement on truth, because it is truth and it's fact, and it was relayed to him by the authorities who are overseeing the investigation into this horrific plane collision. And the president, as I said in my opening remarks, continues to be briefed on the collision by everybody across his cabinet, the Secretary of Transportation, the Secretary of Defense, the NTSB, who the commissioner there was in the Oval Office with him yesterday. Lindsay.
I also noticed that he is not
Lindsay, go
flags to
ahead.
be flown at half staff.
Lindsay, go ahead. Thank you.
In recent days, the CIA actually revealed that they do also believe that COVID-19 was from a lab leak in Wuhan, China. How is the president planning on responding to this additional intel from the CIA, and will it impact how he responds to them with tariffs?
Yeah, kudos to John Ratcliffe for revealing that truth and that fact to the American people. Many years too late, the Biden administration had a chance to let the American people know the truth about that, and for some reason, they chose not to. I also would just like to point out that several years ago, when I was working in this press shop and President Trump would take to this podium to brief the American people on COVID-19, he suggested that COVID very well may have came from a lab in Wuhan, China. And many members in this very room mocked him for that, said he was spewing conspiracy theories. He was not. We now know that to be the confirmable truth. It took many years for it to come out, but the president was right in this instance again. Sure.
Karoline, thank you. I wanted to ask about Secretary Rubio's trip to Panama first.
Sure.
What did the conversations look like with President Trump on that? The president of Panama says it is, quote, impossible to negotiate over the canal. So what are you expecting from this visit?
So I have not been present for Secretary Rubio's conversations with President Trump about the Panama Canal. I have been present for President Trump's own thoughts on the Panama Canal, and you've all seen them as well in his public statements that he has shown. He believes it's unacceptable that the canal is essentially run by the Chinese Communist Party. If you look at both ends of the canal, massive Chinese Communist Party linked companies run the canal. That's unfair to the American people, many of whom lost their lives many years ago building this canal. The American taxpayers are paying millions of dollars for the canal, and the president believes it's in our national interest as a nation for Secretary Rubio to go there and begin these discussions, and that's exactly why he's doing that.
Karoline.
Sure.
Thank you very much, Karoline. Is the United States in the process of pulling out of Syria militarily? Because the president wanted to do that in his first term as well, and he had a lot of pushback from the Pentagon and Congress. And based on what he said yesterday, is he considering doing that in a short time?
The president was asked and answered this question yesterday, and he, as the commander-in-chief of the United States military, reserves the right to review troop deployments overseas at any point in time.
Is that a topic right now?
Yes.
Thank you. Two questions. So we now know that the staffing was not normal at the air traffic tower, and so with the government freezing the hiring of new federal workers and offering buyouts, are you not afraid that more incidents of different kind could happen with less staffing in different agencies?
Well, the president is intent on ensuring that we are increasing staffing at these agencies, and that's why he signed a very strong executive order on his second day in office, immediately terminating DEI hiring practices at the FAA. He also, following the tragic crash, as you all know, in the Oval Office yesterday, signed a memorandum directing an immediate assessment of the FAA to ensure the federal government is maintaining the highest personnel and aviation safety standards. And I would also just say there's a cultural piece to this as well. If you are an American who has spent many years studying aviation, and you graduate from school and you're an air traffic controller based on skill and merit, and then you apply for a job and you're forced to fill out a biographical questionnaire asking you the color of your skin and asking you where you're from in details that aren't relevant at all to the job description, I think that deteriorates the morale of people in this industry. And if you talk to people in this industry, they'll tell you that. In fact, many of them filed a lawsuit against the FAA a couple of years ago under Joe Biden's administration because they were denied positions because of this DEI hiring practice that was putting identity politics over merit and skills. That's unacceptable. And I think just to put a fine point on this, because this is the third or fourth question I've answered on this subject, when you are flying on an airplane with your loved ones, which every one of us in this room has, do you pray that your plane lands safely and gets you to your destination, or do you pray that the pilot has a certain skin color? I think we all know the answer to that question, and as President Trump said yesterday, it's common sense. Rob Crilly.
Yeah, I'd just like to follow up on that last question, actually. Has there been any sort of assurance from the FAA that they will immediately improve staffing levels, given the reports of not normal staffing levels on Wednesday?
Oh, absolutely. You had Secretary Duffy here yesterday at the White House at this podium saying that he is on it, and we can all trust that he definitely will be. John Decker.
Thanks a lot, Carol. You called on me, right?
Yes, I did.
Thank you very much.
As long as your name's still John Decker.
It is,
Absolutely. Thank you. The president's meeting today with the founder and CEO of NVIDIA. What is that meeting concerning, and who sought that meeting?
I don't have details on this. It's a private meeting. It will take place at 2:30 p.m. I'll try to get there in time, and I can let you know after. How's that?
On Guantanamo Bay, can you give more details about setting up that detention facility at Gitmo? How will that come about? What's the timing in terms of standing it up? And of course, this has happened before during the Clinton administration.
Yeah, that's right.
Detainees of Cuban and Haitian descent were both detained at Guantanamo. Are you looking at that model in setting up this detention facility?
Secretary Hegseth, I believe, was on television this morning answering this question, and he said that the Department of Defense is already on it. He has directed his agency to ensure that Gitmo is increasing their capacity for beds, and that's exactly what President Trump's executive order did. It directed Secretary Hegseth and also Secretary Noem to expand the Migrant Operations Center at the Naval Station to provide for this extra detention space. And as Secretary Hegseth confirmed this morning, that operation is underway. Sure.
Caroline, on the tariffs, can you clarify whether those will actually be going into effect tomorrow, or
Yes.
whether there might be some lead time?
Yes.
And are those, they will be going into effect?
Correct.
And are those meant to be in place long term, or is there a scenario in which Canada, Mexico, and China can offer concessions and then they would be removed?
At this point, the president has made it very clear those tariffs are going to be implemented and in effect. If the president at any time decides to roll back those tariffs, I'll leave it to him to make that decision. But starting tomorrow, those tariffs will be in place. Sure.
Thanks, Caroline.
Yes.
Can you confirm a report by our friends at the Daily Mail that the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is going to be visiting the White House in February? And also, if I may, do you have any more details on Netanyahu's visit here next week?
Sure. I have not seen that report about the Prime Minister. I can go check back with our friends at the National Security Council and get back to you on that. I can confirm that Prime Minister Netanyahu will be here on Tuesday, February 4th, for a working meeting and visit with the President, and I'm sure you will all be here, very excited to cover that visit. Sure. Daniel.
Thank you, Caroline.
You're welcome.
Back on the Guantanamo Bay subject, specifically, obviously, why does the president feel like that's the best location or a good location to make sure that Americans are safe from violent, illegal migrant crime?
Well, it's a really good question, and the memorandum that he signed, the order that he signed, builds on his previous executive actions, obviously, to secure our southern border and deport illegal criminals from the interior of our country. We know that we have an issue with detention space here in the interior, which is a big reason why Congress needs to pass this reconciliation package as quickly as possible to ensure that DHS and ICE have the funding they need to detain these individuals that the administration is very swiftly rounding up and deporting, arresting and deporting these illegal immigrant criminals. And so the president feels it's an appropriate place. Taxpayers are already funding it. The space is there. Why not use it? And the Secretary of Defense, as I said, is working on that as we speak. Sure.
Caroline,
yes.
Thank you so much for having me here and answering a question. So I want to talk more about the success that ICE is having finding these violent criminal aliens, some of them being sexual predators. But my friend Ben Bergholm reports that the Chicago mayor and the Illinois governor are preventing ICE agents from going into jails and prisons to enforce detainers against illegal aliens. In Maryland, the Attorney General has also put out a memo hindering local police cooperation with ICE. Does the administration have any comment on leftist state and local officials defying ICE and Trump's deportation efforts?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting that Democrat officials in these cities who have been completely overrun and overwhelmed by illegal immigrant criminals would refuse support and help to cure this problem that has especially taken over their cities. I guess they don't want to admit they've been wrong with their sanctuary city policies. I'm not sure. You'll have to ask them about their intentions. But they would be very wise to comply with this administration because this administration is hell-bent on enforcing our nation's immigration laws. And this administration will continue to arrest and detain and deport illegal migrant criminals. And what we won't do is defy our nation's immigration laws like the previous administration who had these orders of removal on illegal immigrants across the country and were refusing to execute on them. We will continue to remove illegal criminals from our nation's interior.
Are these sanctuary city leaders, are they violating the law?
I would certainly think so. I'd have to check back on which specific law they're violating, but certainly if they're not enforcing our nation's immigration law, sounds like they are breaking the law. And I would also add that their constituents don't approve of that. You've seen residents in Chicago show up at their city council meetings infuriated with their leadership in that city because they are working very hard to provide for their families. They want public safety and law and order, and their officials have abandoned those very basic American principles in these cities. And the American people want law and order. It's, again, an overwhelmingly popular policy to deport illegal criminals from our nation's interior, and this administration will continue to affect that goal. Sure.
A question on Colombia. We just interviewed Colombian President Gustavo Petro, and he insisted that he's not going to take any Colombian deportee from the U.S. if they arrive in South America handcuffed. How this administration responds to that?
When did the Colombian president make those remarks?
Today.
Okay.
For an interview with us at Univision.
Well, I will share those with the President of the United States, and I will get back to you on his response.
What happens if Nicolas Maduro? Caroline, there are more than 150,000 disabled Americans who are working today. The president talked a lot yesterday about hiring the best and the brightest to work in the federal government. Safety aside, does he believe that disabled people do have a place to work in the federal government? And does he also support the current protections for disabled people working in the private sector as well?
The president has made it very clear that this is a common sense solution to solving some of the problems that we have seen at the Federal Aviation Administration and also when it comes to many of the federal agencies across our government. People should not be hired based on their disabilities, based on their skin color, their gender, their race. None of that matters. What matters to this president and this administration is how well you can do your job, and the American people agree with that sentiment. So it's about competence, skill, and merit. And so the president is focused on ensuring that the most competent individuals, the best and the brightest in this country, are in positions in this federal government, especially when it comes to public safety. Can't overemphasize the importance of those jobs. Sure.
Caroline. So as follow-up on her question before, President Trump is holding China accountable on fentanyl by ramping up tariffs. So how is President Trump planning to hold China accountable on COVID origins?
I haven't spoken to the president about the COVID origins specifically in regards to any actions he may or may not take when it comes to China. But as I have previewed quite a few times today, he will be implementing a 10% tariff on China tomorrow. Sure. Hi.
Has the president made up his mind about a timeline for tariffs on the EU?
No, he has not.
And will it be a one-size-fit-all, or will it be differentiated among governments?
I won't get ahead of the president on tariffs when it comes to the European Union. What I can tell you, again, is that the president will be implementing 25% on Canada, 25% on Mexico, 10% on China tomorrow for the reasons that I have repeatedly laid out in this briefing. Newsmax, go ahead. Yes.
Thank you so much.
No, the gentleman behind you.
James Rose.
Yes, James. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. Two quick questions on foreign policy, and then one very long and tedious and ponderous Rosen question thereafter. First, on Iran, we've heard very little about the president's forthcoming Iran policy besides his determination to prevent that nation from achieving a nuclear weapons capability. Is it the president's objective, short of the use of U.S. military force, to use the broad array of his powers to try to hasten the end of the Iranian regime?
I think the president has actually made his position on Iran very clear, and he made that clear when there were the negotiations about the ceasefire, which we know obviously is now in place, and the deadline on that ceasefire has continued. He said that Hamas and Iranian-backed terrorists would have hell to pay if that ceasefire didn't move forward, and then quickly thereafter it did. I also do have news on the hostage front, which I'm very surprised nobody asked about this because it is big news story, and the White House applauds the release of 8 additional hostages from Hamas captivity, thanks to the ceasefire deal secured by President Trump. 3 Israeli and 5 Thai nationals are being reunited with their families and their loved ones after being held in unspeakable conditions for over 15 months. And the president remains committed to the release of all remaining hostages, and they should have never been taken by the brutal terrorist group Hamas in the first place. And I think President Trump's working meeting with the Israeli Prime Minister next week emphasizes his continued continued support for Israel and ensuring that brutal terrorists in that region have hell to pay. Sure.
Can I just finish the other two questions?
Sure.
I know you want the long, ponderous Rosen. But first, on the Grinnell trip, as you know, under the previous administration, the U.S. recognized the opposition candidate in last year's elections, Edmundo Gonzalez, now exiled, as the legitimate president of Venezuela. Does the president's dispatching of Ambassador Grinnell to negotiate directly with President Maduro today mean that the U.S. now officially recognizes President Maduro as the legitimate president of Venezuela?
Absolutely not. As I made it very clear, former ambassador and now special envoy Rick Grinnell is going to Venezuela with two very clear directives. Make sure that Tren de Aragua members, of which there are 400 currently in custody, are repatriated back to Venezuela, and that all United States detainees return home. Thank you very much, guys.
Just on the president's use of language in this room yesterday,
sure.
And without seeking to cast myself as some kind of moral exemplar because it's rather late in the day to try. Nonetheless, this was an event yesterday that began with a moment of silence for the victims of the air crash and the president's own invocation of, quote, a loving God. And then he uncorked that expletive to insult a former cabinet officer. It was the same expletive that I saw him use in the East Room in 2020 when he famously held up the Trump acquitted headline. My question is, if you could shed any light for us on how the president perceives his use of public profanity, which is a practice that certainly sets him apart from all of his predecessors.
He said bullshit.
Is he regarded as an effective communications device, part of his appeal, or is it something that he lapses into inadvertently, perhaps in times of frustration and later regrets?
I think one of the things that the American people love most about this president is that he often says what they are thinking, but sometimes lack the courage to say themselves. And I think yesterday at this podium, you heard President Trump express great frustration, perhaps even anger, with the previous administration's policies, many of which have led to the crises that our country is currently facing and that this president is focused on fixing. Thank you guys very much.
Orange
Have a
man,
great
bad
weekend. We'll
words,
see you next
Driftwood.
week.
This was a short one. I was expecting longer here. Check out what the new 404 error page for the office of Kamala D. Harris says. This page is unburdened by what has been. St. Floyd's Banana, Captain Beetlejuice. Who, me? What? Antifa, my China stuff gonna cost more. So is your Canada stuff. What do you buy from Canada? Is Crown Royal gonna be more expensive? Maple syrup? What else does Canada produce? Nothing. Canada produces nothing of value. 404, female president not found. Lumber, syrup and leaves, comedians, Ninja Turtle figures, what? Yes, blackface. Canada imports a lot of blackface. Chuck Todd has left NBC News. Here's a good video to remember his news career by.
Instead of Roger Stone and WikiLeaks, it's Rudy Giuliani and some computer guy in Delaware. So this didn't work, so he'll try another planted story or another, Russian use some other, discredited Russian propaganda. And for those of you spreading misinformation, shame on you. Shame on you. I don't know how some of you sleep at night who are doing this for a living on television. Instead of Roger Stone and
Wow, shame on you for spreading misinformation. Chuck Todd at is NBC News? Was he at MSNBC? NBC News looks like, okay. Trump administration orders federal employees to remove pronouns from their email signatures immediately. Uh-oh. If you vacation in Mexico, they're going to spit in your food. If you're a white American.
All I gotta say is, if you're American, very pale American, I hope you don't have plans for spring break in Mexico, because there's a lot of people that are mad right now. And among other things,
Stroman, don't they do that
spitting in
already?
your food.
Among other things, we're going to spit in your food. Well, that's fine. No one go to Mexico. I don't know why you would at this point anyway.
At those all-inclusives in Cancun. All I gotta say is,
Sloopadoodle. They'll spit in it here too. It's their culture. Welcome to New York, the loveliest city in the world. So this guy thinks she stole his phone. What if she really did steal this guy's phone? That would be even funnier.
I told her to get my phone back, bro. I told her to get my phone back. What's good? I told her to get my phone back. You good, bro? You good? You good? You good? You good? What's up? You good, bro? You a tough guy? She just said my phone fucking
That
leave,
shit ain't
bro.
your phone, nigga.
She stole my phone and left, bro. I done fucking up. Been friends off for malice, stole my phone and left, bro. Phone. She ain't steal your phone, bro. Yes, she did. I had like 3 phones, bro.
They ain't take shit from you.
You had 3 phones? Did she steal all 3 of your phones? Get this guy a job at the FAA. Why is he wearing 2 watches? Well, he's got 3 phones and 2 watches. Well, now he might only have 2 phones now, because that lady stole one of them. ICE raids in South Florida. What, did they just take all of South Florida? It'd probably be easier just to sweep up the entirety of South Florida and then let the people go who aren't in here there illegally. It'd be quicker.
Took my wife. This man who wished not to be identified says his wife is from Venezuela and has lived in the United States for a few years. She was one of 3 people taken from this home. I'm told the 2 others were men who worked in construction. You see them here. This video, only 1 minute and 52 seconds long. We do not see
My wife
being removed from the home. But this is a picture of her that he keeps in his wallet. Her name is Vianis Ramirez, and he says she was in the process of becoming a United States citizen.
She already had a court date. She was
Good morning, Catnip.
Everything was good. He just came in and snatched her.
These are pictures
They done
of Homeland
snatched her.
Security detaining other undocumented men and women in Broward County.
It's despicable what they're doing right now. It's very embarrassing.
President Donald Trump arrived at his Trump National Golf Resort in Doral Saturday, set to host GOP leaders for a conference. This man hopes this message makes it to him.
I get a chance to talk to you, man. Yo, please, man, let's work something out. So you, man, let me keep my wife here in the United States, man. She deserves to be here, man.
Man, why you do that, man? Man, it's not cool, man. Trump strips millions from DEI foreign aid programs, funding Irish musicals, LGBTQ programs in Serbia. But wait, and more. see here. The House Foreign Affairs Committee has revealed some suspicious federal expenditures that the State Department approved of under Joe Biden. Joe Biden. One of the big ticket items that no longer will receive U.S. funding is a pro-LGBTQ group in Serbia through a group called Grupa Izađi, which in English translates to Group Come Out. This NGO received $1.5 million from Joe Biden's administration to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion in Serbia's workplaces and business communities by promoting economic empowerment of and opportunity for LGBTQI plus people in Serbia. I'm sure Serbia is just crawling with LGBTQI plus 9 or 6'4" people. See, according to the grant, the Serbian group will foster an environment that increases employment. Is this group just like trying to make people gay, or like I don't understand? It'll increase employment potential for LGBTQI plus persons, expand opportunities for LGBTQI plus entrepreneurs, because there's so many of those in Serbia, and reduces workplace discrimination. Oh, but however, Trump's foreign aid freeze has cut off the money from flowing to Group Izađi. Protected Serbia, look you. Yeah. Projects like that and others that push DEI, like a $70,000 grant to a group in Ireland to produce a DEI musical in 2022. Let's see, what else? What other... Another one awarded $2.5 million for electric vehicles in Vietnam. Why are we paying for electric vehicles in Vietnam? Oh yeah, we all know about the $50 million that was funding condoms in Gaza. $47,000 for transgender opera in Colombia. $32,000 for a Peruvian transgender comic book. Yeah, why didn't we get in on this DEI grift? We could have come up with all sorts of shit. We need to have gay black midgets riding donkeys down the street in Peru. Why didn't we do it? USA's largest export, butt stuff. Hakeem Jeffries, otherwise known as Timu Obama, has some words. I'm sure this will just be completely peaceful rhetoric.
We are going to fight it legislatively. We are going to fight it in the courts. And we're going to fight it in the streets. We are going to fight it legislatively. We are going to fight it in the courts. And we're going to fight it in the streets.
They're going to fight Trump's agenda in the streets? Was that a signal? Clearly he's signaling to Antifa to start the riots back up again. They're going to fight Trump's agenda in the streets. Stroman, can't wait. Hopefully it's streamed. We're going to need some streamers in the streets. PCB Junkie sounds insurrection-y. Sloop, too cold. Shit, it's warming up out there. What is it's like It's 63 here today. Jeez. It's like a nice spring day. Mexican restaurant owner shocked by arrest of 7 employees. No way. Come on.
Colony Crossing Way in Madison. That's where 37-year-old Jose Meja Cubias of El Salvador was arrested and charged with
thank you for the
sexual
super
battery
chat.
of a physically helpless
Tariffs
person
for
and
tall
tampering with
kids, you
evidence.
bigot. Fight it in
Your
the
Side's
street.
Chris Fields joins us now with the latest. Chris.
Well, that's right, Maggie. The owner told me tonight that she's upset and worried that her business will now be tainted after what happened. And what's even worse, she says, having someone she put in a leadership position not only be accused of violating someone sexually, but later learning that he and other workers were in the U.S. illegally. Here's what we know so far. Madison police told us they received that alarming
Workers
call.
at Mexican restaurants might be here illegally? What? What? No way. No way.
Just after 1 a.m. Thursday. From there,
At
investigators
Fernando's?
conducted a search warrant at the restaurant.
Who would have
That
thought?
search warrant led to the arrest of
Not
7
Fernando's.
employees who were also in the country illegally. Christina Narvaez, owner of Fernando's restaurant, says she later found out the suspect, who was a manager, was at the restaurant after hours when he wasn't supposed to. She also learned that after the raid that his documentation to get the job was all fake.
Oh my goodness.
He
I had
presented
no
the
idea.
right documentations that he's supposed to, and again, so my husband employed him, you know what I mean?
You know what I mean?
If they were fake
Yeah, my husband looked at those and thought, yeah, these are clearly fake, but let's employ them anyway. You know what I mean?
or whatever, I mean, we don't know that, but he presented the correct documentations, and I mean, he's worked for us. We had no idea he was even like this. Like, I mean, we have, people that come here who, came here to see him because he was the bartender or whatever, but it just goes to show you never know how someone is behind closed doors.
Now, ICE has now placed a detainer on Meja Cubias as he was previously deported from the United States in 2010. Now, all those individuals arrested, including Meja Cubias, are currently being housed at the Madison County Detention Center.
Same story.
When your kids say they hungry in the store, gotta feed them. You gotta stop and you gotta feed them. Because one thing about me, when I'm hungry, he gonna make sure you eat. You gotta eat. Ain't that right? So when y'all hear y'all kids crying,
Did he just dump those Ruffles on the fucking floor? Is he eating food off the floor?
take a break and get them a snack. This is the only way to get them to shut up. That's it. It's simple.
Y'all see they quiet as a people.
Hey, quiet. It's okay to take a break, y'all.
I mean, he happy.
It's okay. It's better than listen to y'all kids cry. And to the people that want to see the kids, here they are.
Y'all always asking about the kids. Here they are.
Catnip. Then they put the trash back on the shelf. nice. Always got to come in with the sucker punch. Massey, when I visited the tower at major airports a few years ago, I was shocked to learn this was the primary display that air traffic controllers used. It looks like the 1980s. We need major updates, but the tech is frozen, ironically due to aversion to risks associated with changes. It looks like Pong.
Yeah.
Pacific Palisades rebuilding must include low-income housing. Fuck it, I just wouldn't rebuild. Kimba, no. That the trans pilot, Trump-hating trans pilot was a hoax. It was misinformation. I still think we don't have the name of the third pilot or third member in the helicopter. Let's see if there's any update on that. We just know it was a woman. The co-pilot of the Black Hawk that crashed into a passenger plane in D.C., killing everyone on board, was a woman who was being evaluated. The female pilot has not been named, but it was a woman with 500 hours of flying experience. The other officers were Chief Warrant Officer Andrew Eves, and the crew chief was named as father of one Ryan O'Hara. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson on illegal immigration in his city.
Tom Holman showed up in Chicago and within 24 hours found a convicted sex offender who has been living in our city since 2009, flouting the sex offender registry. If he can do this, why can't you?
Because that's their job. That is their job. The federal
Their job's not to keep the people of Chicago safe.
To make sure that individuals who are undocumented, who have been charged with, convicted of a crime, it is the federal government's responsibility to do their part and uphold the law. Our local police department, along with our public health department, along with our other sister agencies, working to build a better, stronger, safer Chicago. And as we've stated repeatedly, those critical investments, you continue to see the results of those investments as violent crime continues to fall in Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah. Not my job. I was on a break. Illegals are in here doing what? Stu Lee, when is the next cash hearing? I don't think there is another cash hearing. I could be wrong, but I don't think there is another one. There's at least not one set up yet. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass opposes voter ID, but is requiring proof of residency and photo ID to enter the Pacific Palisades. That's racist. The Unified Incident Command responding to the Palisades fire has announced limited re-entry to all areas under evacuation order for residents and contractors with proof that they are working for a resident only. Escorts are no longer required, checkpoints remain in place, and proof of residence will be required to enter these areas. But what about black people that somehow can't figure out how to get IDs? How will they enter the Pacific Palisades if they live there? What about them?
Yo. Here, bro. It just came in this morning too. It's fresh. Alright, bro. You solid? You got another dozen. Bro, you gotta let me know beforehand, bro. I can't keep doing this, bro. I got other drops to make, bro. Here, bro. Where's the money? That's all I had. Bro, I'm gonna put it for the next time, bro. Next time you do this, bro, it's gonna be more money too. More? Yeah, bro. Where else you gonna get this stuff from? It's fresh, bro. Tell your friends. Alright. Yo.
California, a couple days ago, there were a bunch of roofers over there. None of them showed up to work.
A couple days ago, there was a bunch of roofers on here. None of them are showing up to work. It's fucking hilarious. Hey, you know, you need a job. The trades are open. A couple days ago, there was a bunch of roofers.
Deputies with the LA Sheriff Department find a 100-year-old woman left behind after her assisted living home evacuated without her during the Los Angeles fires. That's fucked up, man. Wonder what kind of people were working there.
Yeah, bud.
Sheriff's Department, anybody inside? Just like monitor looking out the windows to see like where the fire. Oh shoot.
Yes, sir. Copy that, sir. I'll give you a call right now.
Oh my gosh. Sheriff's Department, anybody inside? You gotta evacuate. Hello?
Hello? Where you at?
Where are you?
Hello? Where are you? Oh, hi. Okay, perfect. Is there anyone else with you?
No.
Okay.
Where were you at?
What?
Which room were you from?
I've been trying to find a way out. Let's get you out of here.
Let's get you out. Okay.
Where do I go? But don't lose me. I promise I
We
won't.
won't lose you, don't worry.
How long has she been wandering around in there?
Yelling. Did you hear us?
I didn't hear. I'm deaf.
Okay.
And I couldn't charge my...
Did someone just scream help? How many people did they leave in here?
Yeah, bud.
Sheriff's Department, anybody inside? Just like monitor looking out the windows.
So this body cam's from 108. When were the fires? This has been such a long month, guys. January. We're the last day of January. Boy, it's been a month. It's certainly been a month. Did this January out January last January? I mean, last January we had the aliens at the Miami Mall. A bunch of other shit happened. Okay, so the fire started on January 7th. Had she been in there for 2 days? Oh, okay, it's the 8th. So it was the next day. But still, they evacuated without her. She was there for like a day. This appears to be nighttime. It is nighttime. It's 8:21. She was in fact, so they left her. Driftwood. Am I looking forward to Black History Month? Oh yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to be celebrating every day. I think I'll honor them. Never mind. Oh. Honestly, I think it's fair game. Fair game to eat you if you jump in their home looking like a mermaid. Make sure you correct everyone, inform them that it's Black Herstory Month. Yes, yes, yes. Chicago ICE agents get berated.
Hey, have a great day.
Pussy bitches, all of you guys. Pussy motherfuckers. I hope your families die. Fucking bitches.
Can we know where you guys are?
And your kids die.
Give us at least something. Where do we find him?
Fucking pussies. Se lo llevaron. Dice que lo van a interrogar. Fucking low life.
Where the fuck are you guys taking my dad?
I'm sure they really want to tell you now. We're taking him back. He's got to go back.
Por el que votaron. Where are you guys taking him?
If your dad's here illegally, we should probably check your status too, by the way. Dear Strowman, we're just giving him a ride home. It's a free ride home. This would be a very expensive Uber.
Pero ni siquiera nos dijeron dónde se lo iban a llevar.
Sloop to get, we're taking him to get a pack of smokes. He'll be right back. He's going out for milk. Oh, she's crying. No amount of them crying is going to change our minds. Looks like they should have answered the door, too. They kicked that shit in. Damien Condoms for Gaza Gershwin says, when are we celebrating the first Black Hongstory Month? I don't know. As soon as we get our first Black Honger, we'll set up a day for them. Thank you for the super chat. Oh my god. Yeah. Oh, get ready for the ultimate cringe today. Strowman, who's gonna fix that door, right? Yeah, they don't know anyone that could. Everyone that could fix that door is being deported. That door is just broken for life. PCB, I is trans black. Telemark Daydream, I identify as black. Big Black Hong. Wait, I think there is. The funny part is, she was just in her room doing this, making these faces, thinking she's such a badass. I can't stand Gen Z. Ugh. I don't want to look up your nose. Yeah, what's with this odd revisionism? I don't know. That fan is gonna fall down, Chuck, right? Yeah, that fan's hanging by a thread up there. Maybe she should get someone to come fix her fan. Oh, wait. They've been deported! I love it. Here's the community note. Anne Frank was not an undocumented immigrant. Her family legally moved to NL from DE in 1933. They hid from Nazi persecution, not due to immigration status. The Netherlands accepted German Jews as legal immigrants. Catnip says no one should fix her. I don't think anyone's trying to fix this one. That was powerful. Man hurls $6,500 worth of eggs at random people in San Francisco.
Stop that, bro. Stop that. Stop that. Hey, can you?
Yes, Neo Dark Matter. It's a little less than 24 eggs, yeah.
Stop that, bro. Stop that, bro. No, stop that, bro. Stop that, bro. Stop that, bro. Stop that, bro.
Stop that, bro.
No, we're not.
Where's the don't egg me, bro?
Thank you.
You're a fucking disgraceful man.
Don't do anything against me.
You're fucking disgusting.
You are.
Get the fuck out of here.
No. Stop that, bro. Stop that. Stop that. Hey, can you?
Kai Sanat, famous streamer, bullies a little humanoid robot. It's a $70,000 AI humanoid robot.
Oh, Willie! Oh, no!
Dude, they're going to regret this when AI takes over in a couple years. He's not going to forget about this.
Man, nigga. Bitch ass nigga. What's that, nigga? Nigga, you a fucking robot, nigga. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, my bad, my boy. You go up down there, nigga. Nigga, where your mom at, nigga? Where your mom at, boy? Where your mom's at, my boy? Where your mom? Oh! What the fuck?
They gave it a seizure.
Wait, he's extra heavy, bro. Watch out. Bro, this is 70,000, bro. Bro, he's tweaking, bro.
I wonder why he's tweaking. God, so they see a helpless little robot and their first instinct is to bully it, surround it, and push it around and knock it over. This is what they do. This is, oh, hey, I know what will be fun. Dare Stroman, at least Asian senior citizens are getting a break for a while. Holy shit. The Dark Matter, have they not watched The Matrix and every other robot movie ever, right? Corbusier, robot probing and learning. Yeah, it'll remember this. And they wonder why every AI that comes about has inherent racisms. Not a single student can read at grade level in 30 Illinois schools. What the fuck? 30 schools. Lovejoy, Urban Prep, North Lawndale, Richards Career, YCCS, Spry Community Links. Not so spry, is it? Clark Academy, Douglas Academy. Number of students who are reading proficient. 0, 0, 0, zeros all the way fucking down. Super Doodle. Yay, my state made another list. Suck it, Coasties. Did Trump's tariff announcement crap the markets? What happened? Oh, damn. The Dow was up 500. Oh, no. S&P 500 gives up gains. No. NASDAQ's up. Dow down 0.6%. This is nothing. I'm guessing this was the tariff announcement. Whatever. Psh. Not too concerned. $1995 Bill Clinton sounded an awful lot like Trump.
All Americans, not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country, are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers. That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more, by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before, by cracking down on illegal hiring, by barring welfare benefits to illegal aliens. In the budget I will present to you, we will try to do more to speed the deportation of illegal aliens who are arrested for crimes, to better identify illegal aliens in the workplace, as recommended by the commission headed by former Congresswoman Barbara Jordan. We are a nation of immigrants, but we are also a nation of laws. It is wrong and ultimately self-defeating for a nation of immigrants to permit the kind of abuse of our immigration laws we have seen in recent years, and we must do more to stop it.
Trump to sign more executive orders at 3 Eastern. Yeah. I'll stick around for that. I do have to leave at around 4 Eastern to go do something, but... Let's see, Trump's new executive order protects parents' rights. This school who employs this teacher advocated against parents' rights needs to be investigated. Okay, wait, what?
About parents' rights is that parents' rights is not a right-wing idea. And obviously, all parents have the right to take care of their children the way they choose, to make choices about their children's well-being, their education, etc. what I meant when I said that this idea of parents' rights that the right wing is bringing up often is that recently we're seeing in the political sphere a lot of people in the Republican Party and a lot of people in the right wing are using the term parents' rights to mean something very specific. So they're using this like very particular meaning when they're discussing it. So they're not using it in a general sense. They're using parents' rights to refer to a parent's right to know about their child's gender and sexuality, a parent's right to make decisions about their child's gender and sexuality, and a parent's right to...
Is she saying that she as a teacher has more of a right over this kid's gender and sexuality than the parents do?
Reject or not support their students' gender and sexuality. And that is the part that I have an issue with. As I said before,
deport.
I see my role as an educator as collaborating with kids, families, and their caregivers, and their other teachers, and their administrators and counselors, and their community as a whole, to support them in the best ways possible and in the ways that they need. And I do stand by my statement that parents who reject their children's gender identities and their children's sexual orientations are not taking care of their children, because there is a mountain of evidence that demonstrates that supporting and accepting and affirming a child's gender identity and a child's sexual orientation is literally, it is suicide prevention.
Her job should not be to teach any longer.
It helps them with their mental health, with their academic performance, with attendance in school, and with their long-term success. So...
Yeah, parents don't want their kids to turn out like you. Scientists in China genetically engineer mice with 2 male parents. Oh, great. In the new study, mice were created through genetic editing of mouse embryonic stem cells targeting a class of mammal-specific genes known as imprinted genes, of which there are about 200. Stem cells are cells that can develop into various bodily tissues. Embryonic stem cells present in early-stage embryos have the capability of developing into all cell types of the developing fetus. Most kinds of stem cells are less versatile and may help to sustain and restore only the tissues and organs in which they are situated. The researchers said they modified 20 of the imprinting genes and used cloning technology in order to create the bipaternal mice. China's trying to erase women. Superdoodle. Experts say mice with same-sex parents are healthier, happier, and more successful. Well, I thought only if you have a vagina you're allowed to have an opinion on abortion. So what happens? What happens? Can they decide to abort or no? Teslas now drive themselves from their birthplace, weird to call it a birthplace, at the factory to their designated loading dock lanes without human intervention. Chug Foods, yeah. If it's made in America, Teslas are natural-born citizens. Doesn't Tesla have a Mexico plant, though? We got to send those back. Or did they shut that down? I can't remember. Telemundo released this video to make people feel sympathy for illegal aliens. I'm just mad there aren't more. Billboard, loving these cuffs. Where are the leg shackles? Oh my god, what was the term? What was the term that for the trial when they had Brooks in the leg shackles, but they apparently were shocking him. Shackles? Were we calling them shackles? Yeah, shackles. We need to bring the shackles back for these guys. See, DC officials hold press conference on plane crash.
JOHNDONNELLY Senior, and it's that's from the DC Fire and EMS. And then Terry Lyric, it's TERRYLIERCKE. He's the Vice President and Manager of Reagan National Airport. There will be remarks from both of them, and then we'll do a Q&A. During the Q&A, if you can please introduce yourself, your name, and your media outlet. We'll get started in about 2 minutes. Do which one? The first one is Chief John Donnelly, JOHNDONNELLY Senior. And Terry, TERRYLIERCKE. He's the Vice President and Manager of Reagan National Airport.
How do you pronounce that last name?
Lyric.
Lyric?
Yeah. All right, we'll get started in about 1 minute.
Thank you.
You're good, I'm right behind you. Just want to give you a heads up. You're good, here's where I'll go.
That's the fastest 2 months in history.
Welcome and thank you for being here. Joining me today, I'm John Donnelly, Chief of the District of Columbia Fire and EMS Department, and I'm representing the Unified Command Team that is operating today. I'm joined today by Deputy Mayor Lindsay Appiah, Metropolitan Police Department Executive Chief, Assistant Chief Jeff Carroll, Clint Osborne, the Homeland Security and Emergency Management Agency Director for the District of Columbia, the Military District Washington, the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority, both the fire and police chiefs, the United States Coast Guard, the Maryland State Police, the Virginia Department of Emergency Management, and the Virginia State Police. And I'd like to thank all of them for being here as well. We are here at Reagan National Airport with our Unified Command Team, and we will provide an update on where recovery efforts stand. We'll also give more information about the cadence of updates from Unified Command going forward. I'm joined today by Terry Leavitt from the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority and the other members of the Unified Command Team. As we continue to learn more about the victims, we are sharing our prayers and condolences with the families of the loved ones and those who were lost in this tragedy. And I want to thank again our response teams for their heroic efforts over the past 30 or so hours, including the team on this site, as well as the teams that are supporting the families. This is heartbreaking work. The National Transportation Safety Board is leading the investigation into what happened, and they will be providing updates later this afternoon. We will not be talking about the investigation in this conference. So Terry Leavitt from the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority will now provide an update on airport operations, and then I will update you on the activities since our last briefing and the activities over the next operational period.
Thank you, Chief. Again, my name is Terry Leavitt. I'm the Vice President and Airport Manager of Reagan National Airport. I just kind of wanted to give an update on where we stand. As we know, the airport is open and operating. We are in a reduced capacity and a reduced arrival rate due to the proximity of the recovery site. We do have 2 of our 3 runways that are closed. So, as always, we do want to encourage passengers to reach out to their airlines for any potential flight delays. Typically, a full schedule here at National Airport would encompass about 800 flights a day using those 3 runways. We've had several, obviously, cancellations yesterday. Airlines are resuming as much as possible normal operations. I think we have about 100 flights or so canceled today. I do want to just recognize a lot of the airport teams who work behind the scenes, and we are here to support and coordinate with the ongoing recovery efforts, as well as working with NTSB in their investigation. With that, I'll just turn over my remarks to the next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. So, overnight, our teams continued search operations and surface work, including side sonar scanning, shoreline searches, and aerial searches. Also, 2 Coast Guard cutters have arrived on station. You may be able to see them out there on the water. Other efforts off-site included the NTSB, American and PAL Airlines, and district officials meeting with families at the Family Assistance Center and providing the support that they need to get through this horrible event. We've identified we have recovered 41 sensitive remains, and 28 of those victims have been positively identified. And as of 6 a.m. this morning, next of kin notifications have been made to 18 families. Going forward with our recovery operations, search teams will continue to work the site. We'll do side sonar scanning, searching the shoreline, and aerial operations. Our dive teams are working in targeted areas, and additional Coast Guard assets will arrive this afternoon. The salvage crews have begun to arrive on the scene, and they're assessing the work that's going to be needed to recover the aircraft from the water. We expect those operations to begin no later than tomorrow afternoon. The teams are also working the shoreline down the river, as we do expect some debris to be dragged by the current. And if members of the public believe they have information or have discovered potential wreckage, we're asking you not to touch it and to call 911, and we will send somebody out to get it. Supporting the response team. This has been a tough response for a lot of our people. We've had over 300 responders operating at one time, and I think we've got about 500 people that have walked through the site. So the Unified Command has activated peer support for its first responders to make sure that everybody has somebody that can help us get through this. And the outpouring of support, people like the World Central Kitchens Relief Team and many of the local restaurants, the restaurants here at the airport have supported the people working, making sure they have food so they don't have to stop. And I want to thank the rest of the community for their outpouring of support and the messages that they have given to the firefighters, police officers, military officials, and everybody else that's working. If you want to help, the Greater Washington Community Foundation has a relief fund. You can donate at the link above. We also, be careful, avoid your fundraising scams, only trust verified sources, and ways you can help is to amplify that message using trusted sources on social media. Exercise patience through the transition as this impacts the region. Things like the delays at the airport, people are going to need your grace. I know we've got a lot of vehicles around. We've got some areas closed that are normally open to the public around the river, and we need your patience in that. Check in on your friends and neighbors, and if you're feeling anything about this event, please call the crisis hotline, talk to a medical professional, and you can use 988 on your phone. Here's that last one. So with that, we're going to be able to take a few questions. I'm going to start over here and we'll work our way across. 1, 2, 3. Yes, sir.
Hi, it's Campbell Roberts with the New York Times. Can you talk about the FAA's decision to restrict helicopter flights in and around National Airport?
So the question is, can anybody talk about the FAA's decision to restrict flights in and around National Airport? I don't believe we have any. So that's probably beyond the scope of this interview. You'll have the NTSB later, and that's something I might ask them. Yes, sir.
Skylar Heavy with CBS News. Given the time that has passed, can you describe the conditions right now as it relates to the recovery process, and whether you all think that y'all will be able to recover more bodies?
Okay, the question was, given the time that has passed and the conditions outside, do we believe we're going to be able to recover more bodies? And there's a lot of challenges with that. So I'm going to answer that one. I'm going to say that, yes, we expect to recover all of the bodies. We have that's why our teams are still working. We're going to have to work with the salvage company to do some of that work. Yes, sir.
If I may ask a question on behalf of the Reagan National Airport. This is Alex Gabriello with News Nation. A lot of questions now circulating about the crowded airspace surrounding this airport. Also reports about other close calls, including 24 hours before the fatal accident. We've seen the FAA take the position of restricting the airspace, specifically Route 1 and 4 for choppers in this area. What is the airport's position about potentially toning down some of the air traffic around this airport, and should this have been done sooner, specifically the restrictions on the airspace for choppers on Route 1 and 4?
Yeah, sure. The question was regarding air traffic, helicopter routes up and down the Potomac, right? That is an FAA responsibility. The airspace is controlled by the FAA. The airport does not have any responsibility outside of the surfaces of the airport itself.
But most certainly this has been conversations that you've had, and when it comes to safety for the airport, for the passengers that come in and out of D.C.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The FAA does regulate the airport, and we follow all FAA safety regulations. Again, all I can say is the FAA is responsible for the airspace.
And very briefly, a question for the chief. Sir, how long do you expect it to take for the salvage to be removed from the river to recover the bodies and do everything that's necessary to bring closure for these families?
So we're working as fast as we can. I'm not going to be able to give a timeline on that as there's a lot of unknowns. But we hope that we have we have more salvage equipment here tomorrow, and that operation to begin then. So next 3 questions. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, Chief Perry Russin, ABC News. How is weather affecting recovery efforts? Rain today, rain forecast later. What are the elements inside the river? How has all of this affected recovery?
So the question is, how does the weather affect the recovery operation? In my view, it may slow it down slightly, but all the units out here, all of the people work year-round in all conditions. We're going to be careful. We're going to make sure we don't hurt anybody else, but the weather we've seen so far is weather we can work in. If that were to change, that would affect it, but we haven't seen that. I mean, one question at a time.
Chief, you talked earlier about access to the site and to
to gain access to that area. We don't think that ice was a real problem that day, but the John Glenn has been out of service for some time. Do you have an update on when that vessel can be put back in service?
The question is access to the site and the John Glenn is the fireboat for the District of Columbia. So what I referred to on access to the site is things like Gravelly Point being closed and that being lost as a local recreation area while we're working. There was some ice on the river. We made good access to the site with everybody else. The John Glenn, as has been reported, is one of the district's fireboats. It is not the primary asset for this type of operation, and so while it's in the shop, it didn't affect anything, and we hope to have it back by this summer. Yes,
Mr. Lyric, I have a follow-up question about the runway closures. Grady Trimble with Fox. So you said 2 of 3 are closed because of their proximity to the crash site. Can you explain why they remain closed?
Sure, absolutely. So the question is, why are 2 of the 3 runways here at National Airport closed? So if you're familiar with the runway configurations here, we have a main north-south runway, and we have 2 what we call crosswind runways. The 2 crosswind runways, if aircraft were to take off or land over the aircraft recovery sites that is out there right now, those would be impactful to the operation. So we've elected to keep those runways closed.
And to follow up, how long do you expect that to remain the case? And are you saying that if there are still recovery teams in the Potomac, then there's no chance that these 2 runways are going to open? And how does that impact operations?
Sure. So the question is asking how long we anticipate those runways to be closed. That's a dynamic situation. We work with the FAA. I think what we've communicated is we anticipate, our expectation is a week. However, we'll reassess on Monday, and as the recovery efforts go, it's a fluid situation, obviously. Yep.
Okay, Paul, here and there.
Chief, by talking salvage, can you confirm that you're not going to be able to recover the remaining bodies until you're able to get the fuselage off the floor of the river and onto a barge? And then my follow-up to that is, are you making an effort today to get into the helicopter and recover those 2 bodies?
So the question is, do we believe we have to lift the aircraft out of the water in order to finish and find the rest of the remains? And then the second part of the question was, are we focused on the helicopter today? And the answer to the first question is yes. I believe for us to recover the rest of the remains that we are going to need to get the fuselage out of the water. The second part of the question is yes, a lot of our operations, not all of them, but a lot of our operations today are focused on the helicopter. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, this question's from Stiller. I'm about to talk to IBC. Can you confirm sufficient staffing moving forward in the tower? I don't know if that's in your scope or if that's...
It's not. So the question was regarding staffing in the air traffic control tower. That's outside my scope of responsibility.
Karoline, can you talk a little bit about the toll this has taken on your teams, specifically how many people still remain? I know on day 1 there were upwards of 300 mutual aid people still out there.
So, this is an incident where even if it doesn't affect you right now, it's probably going to affect you later. It'll be something that you think about. So in emergency services across the board, we have support teams. The National Capital Region, all of the departments do, so they've been activated. The International Association of Firefighters regional peer support team has been activated to help support. And the incident management team, as they rotate responders through the scene, are making sure that there are opportunities for them to get the assistance they need. I'm going to ask the Virginia State Police to talk about the peer support he's doing a little bit.
I'm First Sergeant Blank with the State Police in Virginia. We are working with our partners. MWA is leading the support for the effort for peer support, but I'm here in support of that effort, and we have several regional partners that are contributing to that, including mental health professionals who are on site from ANOVA and from a nonprofit in the area that are providing support. The Virginia Law Enforcement Assistance Program is also planning to send support, and all of most of the public safety agencies in the region are providing personnel to assist with that effort.
Yes, ma'am.
Marielle Carbone with DC News Now. I know that this is an unpleasant question for you, Chief, but we've been hearing reports of people that live along the river and potentially seeing partial remains coming up on shore that people are seeing. Is that anything you're hearing, or is that way keeping people away from these shore?
So we're not keeping anybody away from the shoreline for any of those reasons. If we've closed off an area like Gravelly Point here, it's because we have emergency access vehicles coming in and out, and we need the access to the river. We have received some 911 calls about either debris or remains. I don't know that we've actually found any remains. We've certainly picked up debris from those 911 calls. So we're going to do 3 more and go 1, 2, and 3 on the back. Yes, sir.
Thanks, Chief. Jonathan Kersley from Channel 9 Australia. This is a question for Terry. Terry is Vice President and Manager of this airport. What concerns have you had specifically about the congested airspace, and have you ever raised those directly with the FAA?
So again, the United States airspace is the safest in the world. Safety is one of our top priorities, and we continue to ensure that the airport is safe for operations.
To follow up on that, it wasn't safe in this instance. There have been near misses here before. You would have been made aware of those as manager of this airport. Have you raised concerns with the FAA about the congested airspace around Washington's airport?
Yeah, I can say again, we work with the FAA, we're regulated by the FAA, we comply with all FAA safety regulations.
But that doesn't answer the question.
Yes, sir.
Chief Dave Shepardson from Reuters. Can you talk about how much debris has been removed to Hangar 7? And at some point, will that operation be transitioned to a private company, the NTSB? Will hire, or will you guys actually put all the debris in the field?
So that's an investigation question appropriate for NTSB this afternoon.
We'll take 2 more.
Yes, sir.
Tom Resnick, Channel 7. I had a question for Terry as well. As far as the airport took a position against adding extra long-distance flights out of here, and one of the concerns was there's just too much already going on. Do you maintain those concerns because they're supposed to start in the next few months? Are you concerned about safety as those extra flights start?
Yeah, thanks, Tom. So the question was regarding the additional slots to DCA. As you know, the slots are federally controlled, federally mandated, and we have to follow federal regulations.
Are you still concerned about them? I mean, the airport's authority was concerned at the time.
Yes. Again, we have to follow the federal regulations on the slot.
Hi, Jim Spellman, CGTN. Here, one more question for you. You're talking about the FAA, Congress, federally mandated, et cetera. Where does the buck stop with this accident and ensuring that the next flight to take off from this runway is safe?
So again, the question is really directed to the FAA and Congress, I believe.
Yeah. One last question's right here.
You have 41 victims recovered. Are you confident in the location of the others? Where are they? Are you confident that you know where they are?
So I think we know where they are. We won't know until we're done. And we're going to continue the search operation. But we've searched a large portion of this river, and we are right there. So, I didn't read. So the question, let me answer the question again. Let me restate the question, sorry. The question was, are we confident we know where the other remains are? And that it couples with the question about removing the aircraft. I believe that when we remove the aircraft, that will help us resolve this number. If it doesn't, we will continue to search. Okay.
To be clear, that's the process. You take the salvage, the fuselage out. You're going to put it on a. Just reiterate that process. What that looks like. Removing it, putting it on a bar. Is that right?
So some of that isn't decided yet. We'll have to see what the salvage team is doing once they get all of their equipment here. So we may have more on that tomorrow, but so I don't know the exact process today. So thank you all for coming today. Hopefully we answered your questions. We are going to do this again tomorrow. I don't have the time yet, but we will push that out so we can provide the same type of update. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
that was about useless.
These videos obtained exclusively by CNN show previously unseen angles of the collision between an American Airlines flight and a US Army Black Hawk helicopter. In the first video, the Black Hawk can be seen flying at speed over the Potomac from the left side of the screen. The American Airlines plane can be seen flying towards the airport before the two collide, causing a mid-air explosion and fall into the river. In a second video, you can see the Army helicopter and American Airlines plane travel toward each other. After the collision and subsequent explosion, the airliner can be seen spinning into the water, and the Black Hawk is also seen falling into the water.
We're not going to get any answers, are we? President Trump is supposed to sign more executive orders today, just in a couple minutes. And I don't know if that will be on stream anywhere. ASAP's Rocky accuser returns to the stand. Okay, RSBN will carry it.
Black Hawk too high? Was it on course? Right now, we don't quite know.
And according to an FAA report obtained by the Associated Press, staffing inside the control tower at Reagan National was deemed not normal for the day and volume of traffic, with just one air traffic controller responsible for coordinating helicopters and plane traffic when the collision happened.
Because of traffic, because of any other issue, you could see fluctuations in staff up and down. Now, is that an acceptable standard for safety? We will investigate that.
Yesterday, President Trump appointed a new acting head of the FAA and signed an executive order directing the government to review federal aviation hiring. From Reagan National Airport, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
Our thanks to Rebecca Castor for giving us that update out of our nation's capital. And again, we know that this deadly plane crash didn't just impact those victims there in our nation's capital, but also this plane originated in Wichita, Kansas. And so now I want to bring onto the program Mayor Lily Wu. She's the mayor of Wichita. Thanks so much for being with us here on Live Now. First, I want to send my condolences
Lily
to
Wu
your community.
is the mayor of Wichita,
I know you all
Kansas.
are still reeling in the wake of this tragedy, something that was extremely unexpected. First thoughts are just how are folks now getting along, trying to make sense of what happened this week?
Well, thank you very much, Christina. I really appreciate those condolences. Our community right now is asking for more prayers. As you know, this is a very heartbreaking time for a community, and especially right here in the middle of America. A lot of our community members are just now finding out that a friend or someone that they know was on that flight. And so it is just a very trying time for our community. And what I can see right now is that we need more individuals to come together to pray for all the families that are affected, but also please also pray for the first responders. You're showing live footage right now. I know that we're really grateful and thankful for those first responders that are helping with the recovery efforts. But really, at the end of the day, we really want our community to come together and rally behind all the families that are affected.
And we also know that figure skating specifically is important to the city of Wichita. In fact, you all did hold the U.S. Figure Skating Championships. Can you sort of talk about what that moment meant and how you're sort of grappling with the reality that this joyous event happened, but then on the other side, a tragedy?
We were so honored as a city to host the national championships for figure skating. I know that the world championships will be held in Boston with another Mayor Wu, and I had the opportunity to converse with
every
her
mayor of
via
every
text
city a
message, and
Wu?
she sends her condolences. Both of us are really in a lot of heartbreak right now, as many of our community members were affected in some way. So first and foremost, our community was so excited last week really encouraging those athletes, those top athletes in figure skating, their families, their friends who came to Wichita, Kansas, and then to know that this is one of
Lily
the
Wu
parts
was
of
born
that
in
story
Guatemala.
now, regarding the American Airlines flight will be something that will connect
She's
us
a libertarian,
forever,
apparently.
both as a skating community, but also between us and many community members around America.
And we also know that, of course, several other community members that were not a part of the skating community also on that flight. Can you sort of describe what their impact was on the community and how they are now still trying to recover families who've lost fathers, mothers, and even I know some under 18 were on that flight?
You know, we have to keep remembering that there were 67 souls lost. Each one of them is someone's daughter or someone's
Master's
son.
degree in
Beyond
journalism
that,
from
the
University
impact
of
that they
Hong
had
Kong.
is going to be felt throughout many different communities here locally in Wichita. In particular, I did know one of the individuals, and several of our counselors were very close to that young lady. Her name is Kia Duggins, and her family did confirm her passing yesterday. And so Kia's light will continue to be honored. This is a young woman who graduated from the same
I don't
university
see
I
anywhere
did,
that
as
says
well
she's
as the
married,
same high
Paco.
school that I did. And so
no husband,
the
no children.
connections that we will see between many of the
She looks great for
passengers on that
41.
flight
I'll give you
and
that.
community members around Kansas will be something that will again be felt throughout the next few days and weeks and years. And so I really want people to honor the lives of the 67 souls that were
Stroman
lost.
saying lots of makeup.
And I do want to, again, we're continuing to show some of the recovery efforts that are happening live right now in Washington, D.C. But when we take a look back at your state, we do know that the governor of Kansas,
Emphasis
Laura
on
Kelly,
the
was
Hong.
also beside you at that press conference there to give important updates. Can you talk about the state and the city effort to sort of do a comprehensive view of what life is going to look like moving forward?
Well, I'm very grateful not only for our local partners with Sedgwick County and other nonprofit organizations, but also at the state level with Governor Laura Kelly coming down from Topeka to be with us in Wichita. But I'm also really grateful to the federal partners that we have from Senator Marshall
What's her height,
to
weight,
Senator
and core
Moran
body
to
temperature?
Congressman Estes and also Transportation Secretary Duffy all have reached out, and I'm very appreciative of that.
For some reason that's not
I
listed
think that
on
what
Wikipedia.
You're seeing is that when a community is hit by a tragedy, community members need to come together at all levels, whether it's at the government level, the nonprofit level, the community level. We really need to rally together. And what I saw yesterday during our community-wide prayer of all the diverse backgrounds of religious affiliations, and just as a community coming together to rally behind those families is a representation of the heartland of America. So Wichita, Kansas wants to, again, set the example of what we believe is how you respond to a tragedy. It's uniting people around the individuals who've been affected, and my heart definitely goes out to all the family members.
Are there any additional resources at this point for folks who have been affected? Of course, we've been watching as the community has come together for those prayer vigils, but do you have any information on that moving forward? Because people are going to have to try to start to put their lives back together.
Absolutely. I'm really grateful that our Sedgwick County partners have been gathering together to help with Red Cross, as well as what we call our Mental Health America and ComCare. But really what they're asking us to do is to remind the entire nation that there is a national hotline that then filters down at the local level, and that number is 988. 988 is not just a suicide prevention hotline, it is also a mental health resources hotline. So if you need that mental health support immediately, I encourage anyone who is watching to reach out to 988.
And Mayor, before I let you go, I just have to ask you, do you have any final words of encouragement or message for your fellow Wichitans, as well as people around the world who are watching, again, this city now seek to recover from this tragedy?
Well, I'm very grateful again to all the community members, not just in Wichita and Kansas and in the United States and also across the world, who are sending their condolences. And I'm asking them to continue praying for the families. Now, here locally, we are asking people to, if they want to help out, we do have a website called ICT-together.org. And ICT-together.org is an opportunity for people that want to do something helpful and donate to a reputable organization that is the Wichita Community Foundation, as they will continue to give those funds to the individuals and their families who need it most.
Certainly something that we'll continue to stay on top of here from Live Now from Fox. And we appreciate you, Mayor Lily Wu, there in the city of Wichita, your time. And again, our thoughts and prayers are just with so many of those residents who are now reeling from this tragedy. It'll be a long road forward, but again, one that we're wishing the best for you and your city.
Thank you, Christina.
All right, we did want to go ahead and bring that to you here on Live Now from Fox.
Meta reportedly in talks to reincorporate in Texas, exiting Delaware. We're still waiting on these Trump executive orders to be signed. Hopefully they get to them soon. I do have to be going shortly.
And at this time, 41 bodies have been pulled from the Potomac River. 28 have been identified. All right, we are going to take this time to step away for a 2-minute break. Stay right here with us on Live Now.
Well, Paul, so we all agree it's the Army pilot's fault? Very much most likely, yes. Bill Barr, that is inaccurate, or as so far the rumor going around was not true. We still don't know the identity of the female pilot who was being evaluated with only 500 hours under her belt.
Oh no! Oh no! Watch out!
How are you gonna say watch out after it falls?
Yeah, there ain't no stopping it now. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no, 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 no! Oh no! Watch out!
God.
Paco, what EOs are being signed? I'm not sure. Let's see if I can find out. Just says President Trump is scheduled to sign more executive orders Friday, continuing a burst of activity. Later in the day, he plans to return to his Mar-a-Lago estate in Palm Beach, Florida for the weekend. He still plans, at the briefing earlier, White House press secretary said Trump still plans to implement 25% tariffs on Mexico, 25% tariffs on Canada, and 10% tariffs on China beginning tomorrow. But yeah, no word on what the EOs will be today.
We want to continue on with our coverage of some of today's top stories. And if you missed it a bit earlier today, Representative Hakeem Jeffries was speaking in response to some of the executive orders, particularly as it pertains to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Let's listen into his comments right here on Live Now.
Continue to be with the families of all of the victims who were killed.
God, they're really trying
during
to
this plane
push
crash,
him out
the
there.
worst aviation
Timu
incident
Obama has words to say
in America in more than 20 years. This is a moment that requires leadership, compassion, decisiveness, and decency. It's not a moment that calls for misinformation and misdirection. House Democrats look forward to an administrative inquiry that is fact-based, thorough, and comprehensive. It's my expectation that Congress will also independently conduct hearings in both the House of Representatives and in the Senate. That should be thorough, thoughtful, and fact-based as well. House Democrats are committed to driving down the high cost of living.
Who is this guy?
Here in New York and in the United States of America. Things are too expensive. Housing costs are too high. Grocery costs are too high, and utility costs are too high. America is too
It's a
expensive.
FedEx
We
guy
must
waiting for his signature.
build an affordable economy for hard-working taxpayers here in New York and throughout the country. That's our commitment. At the same time,
that's Big D.
House Republicans are ripping off
Jay Davis, I really
the
wish
American
Discount Obama
people.
would dial back
They
the
are trying
Obama-ness
to
of his
steal
bad Obama impression.
taxpayer money
Biggie
from
Smalls is
vital
his nephew.
initiatives that serve the community. House Republicans want to end Medicaid as we know it. Throw off children.
That's
from
Kobe
Head Start.
Booker.
Make it harder for seniors who rely on Meals and Wheels for their nutritional assistance, and to cut grants that improve public safety in our community. It's wrong, and we are determined to stop it. The federal funding freeze that was put into place this week was unlawful, unconscionable, and un-American. It was part of an effort to rip off the American people.
What?
Connected to a Republican scheme to cut taxes for billionaires and wealthy corporations and force everyday Americans, working class Americans, low income Americans, and middle class Americans to pay for it. It's not acceptable. I'm going to fight hard to make sure it never happens. It's now my honor to yield to Congresswoman Yvette Clarke.
Let me thank the leader. His leadership has been tremendous in Washington, D.C., and certainly right here in Brooklyn. Good morning and greetings to everyone. I'm Congresswoman Yvette D. Clarke, and I'm chairwoman of the Congressional Black Caucus and proud representative of New York's 9th Congressional District right here in Central and Southwest Brooklyn. Let me thank the leader once again for convening today's press conference, and thank you to everyone who has come out, our advocates, and joined us in this solemn moment in our nation. As the leader stated, the mid-air collision involving American Airlines Flight 5342
She almost just read
and
that
an Army
as
helicopter
collision.
is devastating beyond words. I'm extraordinarily grateful to the first responders who are doing everything they can to help under extremely difficult circumstances. And as we continue to receive updates and uncover precisely why this terrible incident came to pass, allow me to echo Leader Jeffries in saying our hearts and our prayers are with all those who lost their loved ones in this terrible accident. And while we do that, while we wait for the absolute truth of the matter, it is with great and righteous indignation that I recognize the comments and actions of one individual in particular who did not attempt whatsoever to wait for those facts. The individual who, rather than emphasize with the families of the 67 victims of his heartbreaking disaster, attempt to unify a grieving country, or even offer his prayers, chose to capitalize on this tragedy by furthering his racist, insane agenda against America's diverse employees. our repugnant president, Donald Trump, chose to address a nation in mourning with only fiction and white supremacist ideologies yesterday. He spun that fiction for
literally
one reason,
can't read.
and one reason alone, and that is to further his administration's purge of America's minority employees. Again and again, this president has reiterated that if you're black, brown, Latino, LGBTQIA, a woman, or
she didn't
belong
say the
to
plus.
any marginalized community in this country, he truly believes you stole your job. And he believes you deserve to have it taken away. Whether you voted for him or not, if you're a marginalized American, Donald Trump prefers you unemployed and under his boot. He'll politicize any tragedy and abandon any decency to hammer that point home. And he will continue with the lies. He will continue with the vilification and demonization. He will continue with this madness until our republic is a white and as male as this administration can bend and break the law to make it. His slew of illegal, unconstitutional executive orders prove just this. But I believe the opposition we have seen from our communities proves something else too. We saw with his recent failed attempt to suspend all federal funding that would have resulted in food being taken from the mouths of babies and seniors, healthcare being taken from cancer patients, aid being taken from our sworn allies, and other irreparable and incomprehensible harms. The American people will not stand by as their president disregards their needs and inflicts devastating impacts on their livelihood to benefit himself.
Look, I get it.
Friends.
You know, if you're reading, you might
American
mispronounce a
people will
word
not
here and
stand
there,
by
but it's
as
like every
bullies
sentence
and
for her.
bigots try to overthrow devoted public servants trying to make their lives better. The American people will not stand by as a wannabe dictator chooses cruelty over the Constitution. The American people will not stand by, and neither will we. So let me thank the leader once again. His leadership is tremendous in this moment of opposition. We, as a Democratic caucus, stand firmly behind our leader as we navigate through these very troubling times. With that, I yield back to our leader.
Thank you, Congresswoman Yvette Clarke. Meals on Wheels, Head Start, public safety programs like violence interruption initiatives and grants to police officers and firefighters are vital. They must be protected. We are committed to making sure that they are protected in the best interests of New Yorkers and the American people. To speak about the importance of these programs for everyday New Yorkers, it's now my honor to yield first to Rachel Sherrow, the Chief Operating Officer for City Meals.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity for us to be here today. Food is a human right. Older New Yorkers who are vulnerable to begin with, in their homes waiting for the meal that they get, is usually the only access they have to nutritious food. If we are impacted by these cuts, it will be devastating for an already vulnerable population.
They've already said they won't be impacted by that.
37% of Meals on Wheels funding nationally comes from the federal government. We cannot imagine the devastation that could create across the country and here in the 5 boroughs. Tens of thousands of older New Yorkers rely on this food. The confusion and fear this causes is also impacting them.
Oh,
we
no.
want to make sure that there
I'm
is
confused
no
and afraid.
disruption in their services.
Donald
and
Trump
that they
did this to me.
can continue to count on us to get food, which they have every right to receive. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Let me now yield to Shantae Hairston from the Bedford-Stuyvesant Early Childhood Development Center, an important provider of Head Start opportunities here in Central Brooklyn.
Hi, good morning.
Well, today I'm here to talk about why early childhood is important. I have a 6-year-old daughter. My daughter started in BSECDC when she was 3 years old.
Is the father around?
They taught her so many things. Our children learn from play. So as she grew along, they taught her how to read. They taught her how to write. They taught her colors. They taught her so many things. So when she went, it wasn't just us like forcing education and things like that on the children. They played with their toys, so they knew what the blocks was. They knew what a cylinder was. They knew what color it was. This is red, this is blue, this is orange. She knew all of that from 3. When she went to kindergarten, she is at the highest she is the highest person in her class in reading because she learned from early childhood. So this right here is so passionate because our children every day see so many things, they learn so many things, and it starts from little. We need the program, we need the funding, and please, we do not want this to be taken away from our children because it starts from here. It starts from small. It starts when their brain is learning.
Is stream glitchy for you? Is stream glitchy for anyone else?
I want this to just be something that's there for our children, where we can keep helping them and educating them, and so that they can be successful people later on in life. Thank you.
Thank you, Shantae.
Start from
Again,
little.
I also wanted to acknowledge the presence of Brownsville In, Violence Out, and Kings Against Violence Initiative, 2 very important public safety and violence interruption programs in our community that were also threatened by this illegal federal funding freeze. Questions?
Hi, how are you? Thank you so much. So yesterday, the President Trump has a press conference, and he mentioned many times about the diversity program, and people are confused what he means. Can you just
it's glitchy. It's making that lady sound like she can't speak English.
It's a very
that ain't the stream
statement that was made by the president. Bodies are still being pulled from the Potomac. Children were killed.
Think of the children.
Future ice skating
Trump
Olympians
never thinks of the children.
Were killed. Future leaders in Wichita, Kansas, and beyond were killed as a result of this tragedy. And we don't need misdirection, and we don't need misinformation coming from the highest office in the land. We need integrity, we need decency, we need leadership. There is not a scintilla of evidence that exists to suggest that women and people of color are to blame for the tragedy that took place. And it was shameful.
How are you?
Good.
Good, thank you. So just quick questions on 2 things. One, I was hoping to get your reaction to conversations that Representative Kathy Hochul has had with President Donald Trump on congestion pricing. What is your reaction to that possibly getting put on pause or even just pulled altogether? And then also, I was hoping to get your reaction to reports that the Justice Department is considering dropping the charges against Mayor Eric Adams, and if you think that's appropriate.
I'll continue to support Governor Kathy Hochul and her leadership here in the state of New York. I have an expectation that I'll speak with her at some point later on today to discuss the dynamics around congestion pricing, and I don't want to get out ahead of that conversation. With respect to the mayor, as I've repeatedly indicated, he's entitled to the presumption of innocence and to work through the judicial process. Until that judicial process comes to a close, I'll have nothing further to add.
Do you think it's appropriate if the Justice Department steps in, though, and removes that system of justice a little bit?
Same answer.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. Good to see you. For both you and Chair Clark, the last 2 weeks, there's just been a flood of executive orders, press conferences. Donald Trump is just making all sorts of comments that you all have responded to. I'm curious, as two leaders in the Democratic Party, how are you thinking about each shiny object, what to respond to, what not to respond to, when to play offense, when to play defense? What's your message to Democrats out there who are looking for kind of a path forward in this new kind of Trump era?
So let me just say this. This is not our first time under the leadership of Donald Trump. We experienced the barrage of cruel and just extraordinary measures that he was taking to commandeer the power of our nation. What we are focused on are the lives of the American people, focused on pushing back, whether it's legislative, whether it's through hearings, and educating and informing the public. There's been a lot of misinformation, a lot of propaganda out there that has been spun by Donald Trump at MAGA maniacs, as I call them, and certainly his administration. We're going to debunk that every step of the way, and we're going to be focused on the American people. So we're not going to follow every diabolical issue that he throws before us. We're going to remain focused on the lives of the American people, and where possible, we're going to stand against it. If it's a legislative matter, certainly the leader has given us directives on how we will stand together to make sure that we push back hard, and thwart the ideas and the plans that this administration has set forth. Clearly, they put forth a Project 2025 manifesto. That will be part of our guide. We're smart enough to print up exactly what they intend to do. A lot of that must go through the legislative process. We have members of the Congressional Black Caucus on every committee of jurisdiction, many of whom are ranking members, many of whom are ranking members of subcommittees. And working through our legislative channels, we will certainly make sure that Donald Trump recognizes that the American people are not going to fall for his foolishness. We will not stand idly by while he tries to commandeer this democracy and turn it into a dictatorship.
We're committed to finding bipartisan common ground with our colleagues on the other side of the aisle whenever and wherever possible in order to make life better for everyday Americans, particularly as it relates to driving down the high cost of living. But at the same period of time, we're going to push back against far-right extremism in defense of the American people whenever necessary. We understand that extreme MAGA Republicans have a strategy. They want to flood the zone with outrage, but we can't chase every outrage. I'm a Yankee fan. That may be getting me in trouble with some of my constituents who root for the other team from Queens, but I'm a Yankee fan. And Aaron Judge is my favorite player, as is the case.
What's your point?
He's a great hitter, a great young hitter. One of the reasons that he's a great hitter is that he does not swing at every pitch. He waits for the right one, and then he swings. We're not going to swing at every pitch. We're going to swing at the ones that matter for the American people. That is why the pushback was so fierce as it relates to the unlawful funding freeze, because it was a Republican rip-off scheme to steal taxpayer dollars from the American people. And we were not going to stand for it.
Can I ask you about
Second row.
Leader Jeffries, may I ask if you have a preferred candidate for DNC chair, seeing as the election is tomorrow? Additionally, when are you going to meet with President Trump?
DNC chair elections
further
tomorrow?
Information as it relates to the DNC at some point today or tomorrow, because I am a member of the DNC and will have to cast a vote. That vote eventually would become public. In terms of
Nick, is there something cheaper than Timu?
to meet with the president, but I assume at some
99
point,
cent
given
store?
all the business that has to take place on behalf of the American people, that there will be high level
Garage sale?
communication between House Democrats.
The free bin at the Goodwill?
Hi. In that same New York Times story that reported that the Justice Department was considering dropping the charges against the mayor, it also reported that the mayor was horse trading city policy on his indictment. There has been talk, because the mayor has been so deferential to Trump, the public advocate has said that he's too compromised to govern. I was wondering if both of you can comment on that and what you make of the mayor's behavior, and what if, in fact, this allegation in the New York Times is true?
As you indicated, it's an allegation. Jumaane Williams certainly has the ability to speak for himself. As I've indicated, the mayor is entitled to the presumption of innocence, just like every other New Yorker. We'll see how the judicial process plays itself
What's
out.
Poundland? Is that like the dollar store
At
over
the end of the day,
over on that
we
small
have a
tiny
great
island
city here.
across the
We have a
pond?
city council and a mayor. Right now, we know that our mayor is up against.
Should have called it
really,
Pound Town. Yes,
challenging
Paco.
times.
Missed
My hope
opportunity
is
there.
that Speaker Adams and her team will continue to deliver to to all New Yorkers the services that they deserve, and certainly whether there's horse trading or not, I believe that there are laws in this town that protect all New Yorkers, and I anticipate that those laws will be abided by.
Hey, you said that you don't want to swing at every pitch, but do you think it's appropriate that this city has a mayor who seemingly isn't swinging at any pitch? And do you think he's a good fit for the city as mayor right now?
Yeah, I have more to say about the future of the mayorship of the city of New York at the appropriate time. Right now, we're going to keep focused on the need to look out for everyday New Yorkers and everyday Americans who are under assault.
True. The UK did take over the world, Paul. They did.
Agenda.
But until the real players showed up
cut taxes
and showed how the game is really played.
And wealthy corporations, and then stick New
UK was playing with like 5-year-olds.
Class Americans across
not even
the country
JV.
With the bill. That's
America
not
went all
acceptable.
pro in taking over the world.
We are going to fight it. Legislatively, we are going to fight it in the courts, and we're going to fight it in the streets. Thank you, everyone.
Hey, Marsh,
One last
has a question.
Yes.
Thank you. Marsh is asking, there are those who say the Democratic Party has not yet arrived to take on Donald Trump and some of his measures he's enacted. What are you going to do as the minority leader of the House, and what are the things that you are most determined to block, if you can?
It's an important question. As was demonstrated this week, House Democrats, Senate Democrats, Democratic governors, and everyday Americans all across the country rose up in defiance as it relates to the illegal, unlawful, and extreme federal funding freeze that is part of the Republican rip-off agenda. We fought it, we stopped it, and we will never surrender. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We can do it.
Speaking of the UK, Eyeball Paul, Idris Elba on how to stop knife attacks in the UK.
The truth is that kitchen knives are perhaps 25% of the knives used in most of the terrible crimes. That's one of the stats in the films. And those kitchen knives are usually a domestic situation, okay? So kitchen knives, of course, it's very difficult. They're a domestic knife. I do think there is areas of innovation
assault
that we can
knives
do with kitchen knives. I hate to say it, not all kitchen knives need to have a point on them. That sounds like a crazy thing to say.
You're going to need a background check to buy a fucking kitchen knife over there.
But actually it would reduce. You know, you can still cut your food without the point on the knife, which is an innovative way to sort
Save a
of
life, bend
in a
that
country in
knife.
crisis. I'm sorry, but yeah, let's look at that.
He wants to outlaw
But
pointy
the truth is
objects.
all knives. You know, the loophole on the heritage knives allows the sale of ninja swords to be sold.
Ninja swords.
So while, you know, you've got your granddad's sword on there and you want that, that's fine, of course, but it is leaving a loophole for someone to carry.
Got a license for that toothpick.
Let's ban them all. And if you
telemarketing.
if you have one of those knives, get a license for it. Simple as that. And I think it's a small contribution to society.
No bump stocks
if you
for
say,
Apple
right,
cores.
I'm going to back that. I'll get a license for my granddad's sword because it is leaving, you know, these kids vulnerable.
Anonymous, they need to ban sticks next. Yes, baseball bats. Those can hurt. Good news, asteroid bros. The odds of a city-killer asteroid smashing into the Earth on December 22nd, 2032 have ticked up slightly. It used to be a 1 in 83 chance. Now it's a 1 in 77 chance. Head in the right direction, asteroid bros. Apparently, this red line is where the asteroid could potentially hit. So, America's good. Could wipe out a city in Africa, somewhere in South America. Somewhere, is that India? Looks like India over there. Chad Lynch, thank you, Jesus. Monkey about time. Taylor, ban space rocks. Space rocks are dangerous. We should ban them. Ban rocks. We need Bruce. God, I don't think Bruce Willis is going to make it to 2032, guys. We're fucked. We're totally fucked. You think Bruce Willis is going to live? What is that? I guess it's almost 8 more years. I don't think Bruce Willis is going to make it that long, guys. What are we going to do? Oh no, all the world's problems solved. Global South-mageddon. Yeah. Well. Jay Davis, not all space rocks need to be pointy. Hate to say it. No full auto meteors. Hitting India would be insane. Hitting India would be insane. Oh my god. Would street shit just like fly up into the atmosphere and go around the world? That might be worst case scenario, actually. India might be worst case scenario. I'm hoping for somewhere around here. Hey, if that was the UK, that meteor would have already been banned. That's true. India poo would block out the sun. A large poonami would cover the world. Oh no. It would be the greatest do not redeem in history. Oh shit. Well, alright guys, I've got some other stuff I gotta get done this afternoon. Thanks for joining me. As always, a lot of fun hanging out with you guys. We'll see you next time. Hung out.